All right, here we go. Today's video, I thought I would do defensive stats. I've made a couple videos in the past on this. I just had defense on my mind. I have been doing some defensive stuff lately with stats and filters and just thought it was fresh on my mind, so I thought I'd do a video now that we're getting on the halfway point of the year. I think it's really cool to see some of these things. I kind of went over it last time I did a defense video. We'll just do a real quick 20-second refresher. Essentially, I have all the important stats here. For defense, you have innings played, games and stuff. You have the total chances, assists, and then you got the zone range, and then you have all the biz stats. So to give you a refresher, the ones on the left are the easiest ones, and then as you get to the right, it's the harder ones. So the first category is always the attempted, and the second one's actually how many they made. So this guy made 77 out of 78 to get 98%. So it starts with routine, and then it goes to likely, even, which is 50-50 balls. Unlikely is the biz U. ZM is the remote balls, and then I is impossible. That's just how many they had hit into their zone that were pretty much impossible balls to get to. So we'll start off here, just kind of talk about position by position. So catcher here, if you sort it by zone range, you got Drew Romo. The biz stats don't really come into play too much for catchers. It's just essentially that they have like pop ball flyouts in the infield there, pop ups that just kind of hit in the area. So as you can see here, there's just a handful of balls for these guys, but they don't really have any opportunity to make unlikely or remote balls because they just don't have a lot of space before the out of bounds markers. So for catcher, you really just want to. We actually have a defensive different stat for that. I got catcher defense down here, so maybe we'll go back to that after actually. So first base, we'll talk about here. First base is really interesting. You have, at the top here, you got Mike Harold, plays a lot at first base. He's got a nice positive zone range. Only 2 errors out of him. And then you got Dusty Reynolds here, who's a great defender at first base. 60 range, really athletic. Dude's not too great in offense, but a nice defensive player. You got Steven Paps. Paps is a guy that can play third base, a lot of range for first base. So you get some of the top guys there. Only about a +3 zone range. So if you're kind of going by that, you might want to just say the guy with 0 errors might be the Gold Glove favorite so far, if that's a big difference for you. You do have 526 total chances for Harold, though, which is almost 150 more than some of these guys. If you look here, it's kind of cool. You actually, some interesting differences here between them. Like these guys have 16 attempted likely balls, only 8 for him, and you only got 5 for Jordan here. Doesn't play very much. If you look at the even balls, that's the one I think that most important one of all these I kind of go by, is if it's a 50-50 ball and the opportunity is a high enough sample size, you kind of get a good grasp. So it's pretty nasty when you see like this Stephen Pass being 6 for 6 in a 50-50 ball. Essentially, like means he's pretty freaking athletic and making it to a lot of balls. So the Art Van Winkle's had the most opportunities there. He makes just over 50%, and then you get 75% for Capelli. So Capelli is a pretty nasty defender for first baseman there, 65 rated. Unlikely is really neat. You get 13 attempts from Mike Mooney randomly for the Braves for whatever reason. He has made it to 5 of those, which is pretty decent ratio, I'd imagine. Most of these guys are about 20-30%, so 30% is not too bad. 50% for Bregman. So Bregman's a really rangy first baseman, as he's more of a third baseman in his career. So he's shifted over there in his late age. And then you actually have 11 opportunities for remote balls from Mountcastle. It converted 0. So actually a pretty good defender, but not great. Actually a -1 zone range this year. You actually have 1 made out of Stephen Paps. You get 2 for a couple of these guys here. Sabato. Mooney has made it to 2. So for whatever reason, Mooney's just had a lot of opportunities to get some pretty far away balls between these unlikely and remote plays, which is kind of cool. And then impossible balls, Roby is 9 that have been hit that are pretty much impossible to field, which is interesting because he also is having the worst year with errors. I think he's got 6 errors to lead the league, which isn't very good fielding percentage and a negative rating, but he does have really good ratings, so that's kind of interesting. He's like a 70 defender there. So that's the first base. I guess if you're going by this, the first base, Paps and Capelli having really fantastic years there. Harold definitely in the running there, so that's pretty cool. Second base, you got Royce Lewis leading the way with 7.1 zone range. Here's where things get interesting in the middle of the field. You can see some real advanced stats here. So at 0 errors, Adam Talley, 75 error rating, hitting a 57 WRC plus, but pretty elite defense, which is kind of neat to see. Wolverton also pretty up there. So these guys all have like 3, 4, 5, 6 errors, and then you get 0 to Talley, which is pretty magnificent. Makes 98% of routine plays. Also, Royce Lewis is at 27 likely balls fielded, which is pretty crazy, as the best hitter. Also right up there is pretty much the best defender, just an incredible player. Moises Gonzalez up there. He is interesting. He only has 50 range and 50 air, but some pretty nice turn double play there. So he is actually at a -3 zone range. Not a great defender there. Really good player though. Just yeah, kind of interesting tweener between like second base, maybe third base ratings and first base there. I think really interesting. He has 0 homers with 40 power, so that guy should be even better. So maybe he's more of like a 5-6 WAR guy. Once he should be hitting like 10 a year, I think, with those ratings. So that's interesting. So if you have the likely, oh, I just moved those around by accident. You have the likely balls here, pretty cool stuff. And then even balls is like I said, pretty much my favorite one to kind of judge a guy by. So if you look at here, you got Cade Horton, who's playing second base this year after a really bad year at short last year. He's playing pretty decent there. 63% of even balls fielded. The real nice ratio here is this Dodgers guy. 70 range, really nice defensive ratings, athletic second baseman there. A little bit weaker arm, or else he'd probably be a good shortstop. Really, really nice overall profile for him. So he is at 73% of even balls fielded, which is pretty nasty. Has 5 errors, though. And Corche here is a lot of opportunities here. 119 is third in the league for routine balls fielded. So he has made 13 plays there, 62% coming in at the even, which is pretty good. 12 percentage over like the 50-50 ratio. And then you got Greg Howard here, Freddie Underwood, some pretty cool guys there. And then if you look at the unlikely balls fielded, pretty nasty percentage there from the second guy, Nick Allen. And the third guy is ridiculous. 8 out of 11 from Monegro. That stat really jumps off the page at me. The guy's got 72%, which is crazy. So high in this. So the next highest is like 40% that has fielded more than like double digits. You still got a pretty good ratio here. Adam Talley again, 55% of unlikely, which is significantly high. You got a pretty good percentage here out of my guy Diaz. He's played a decent amount of second base in the pros, but more AAA. But yeah, Guerra at another Boston guy that's played some innings there at second base. That's pretty interesting to have that many. But yeah, I really love to see the Monegro stats there. Pretty crazy. 8 out of 11 for that. The league leader, Arias Harris, had 26 opportunities. He's converted 9 of them, which is a decent ratio. Freeman's only converted 4 of 26. He's lost a little bit of range, I guess, as he gets older. Next on, we have the remote balls. So Matt Hardwick has actually had a shot. 20 home runs, by the way. Ridiculous season out of him. 4 out of 22, pretty low. You actually have Tyler Freeman here, which is really weird because he was so low in the unlikely. See some of the sample size differences, but 42% on the remote balls here for Tyler Freeman. You get 9 for Mini A, my guy there. It's pretty solid. Kane and Corte here, 2 out of 19, not too pretty. And then you have the impossible balls. The Dodgers guy with 70 range there has actually had an opportunity to get 34 impossible balls. Sal Stewart up there too, which is interesting. That's more just luck, like how many like really hard balls in their vicinity that's like it's possible to get to, but very, very, very unlikely. So that's really interesting at second base. You'd have to imagine that Talley would be the Gold Glove favorite here in the NL. And then in the AL, you'd have to imagine Royce Lewis would run away with that award. But definitely super early on the year, and there's still some other really good options on this list. Next up at third base, we have an interesting set of guys here. So you have some really good defenders, all above 3 zone range here. Matt Chapman has just got a stranglehold in this award for years and years and years. Up there in the running again, 468 innings, 3 zone range. Really nice ratios across the board here. So I kind of skip over the routine there unless someone at the top has a really low percentage, but everyone's usually above 90 for that. And then the likely balls here, pretty nasty at Hearns, 19 out of 20. You got for that. Kazono has actually missed a few likely balls compared to some of these other top guys, not too far below. Chapman's also at like in the 70s here in Oliveira. And then Wander Franco, 75%. But yeah, you got 92% of Perdomo here for that, which is nasty. He's a real good defender. 23 out of 25 is a pretty disgusting ratio. The even balls, you got Kazono here again at the top. And then you jump down here and you got a couple guys in the high 70s. Nothing really crazy standing out to me on that page. I got 11 of 11 here for Brady House, which is pretty amazing for the even balls there. He's probably got the best ratings defensively from year to year. 60 range, 75 air, 75 arm is spectacular, and he has high turn double play, so pretty incredible overall. I don't think, well, that's an error by me. I don't think I have double plays on here. So if you go to fielding stats, I don't know why I don't have those in double play and triple play. I'll add those in. So it looks like we got lots of room. So let's save that view. Okay, so and then we got unlikely balls fielded. Nate Crawford, an incredible ratio, 11 out of 12, Really weird because his even's at 28%, but he's actually made it to some pretty nasty, unlikely balls here. Maybe that's to do with 75 arm where he's really deep in third base there. I don't know. But that's an incredible ratio there. That really stands out quite a bit. 91%. No one else is really even close on that. Pretty interesting there. Gunnar Henderson looks like he's actually played quite a bit of third base this season, right around zero zone range. 7 errors, though, unfortunately. And if you go over to remote balls, you actually have 7 fielded by Perdomo. So Perdomo's kind of jumping out to me at the top of this list in a lot of categories here. Pretty beautiful season out of him. The percentage-wise, the highest you get here is for the remote balls, about 50%. So Jeremy Butler is an interesting guy on here, having a really good season. He has a 110 WRC plus and really good defensive stats. Really bad base runner, but offensively he's been pretty decent in that stadium. On pace for a pretty solid season. Love to see that. So yeah, if you go back to the start here, I think Perdomo, yeah, 9 double plays. That's interesting. 14 double plays out of Ahrens here. It's pretty high. 9. Oh, this guy too is having a sick year. If you haven't looked at this guy, Willie Revelia. That guy's nasty. So yeah, I think Perdomo here, Brady House, all those guys are pretty good seasons so far. It's gonna be a little tricky for third base to vote on the Gold Glove. Kazono, I think, is definitely gonna be in the running. Right now, I guess House and Perdomo is gonna be a real good race in the NL, I think for sure. And Ethan here too is also in that division and league. So that's going to be cool to see. I'm going to go back to second base for a second here and just see if anyone's double plays really jumps off the page. 52 double play balls out of Moises, but 11 errors is killing him. 50 error rating. And if you compare that to the next guys, he only got like 1 and 2 errors for the same amount of innings. So big jump. Sal Stewart with a spectacular 80 error. You show those ratings matter too because he only has 1 error, 3 errors compared to the 11 with about the same innings played as the other guys. Just the difference between a 50 and 80 error, as you can see in almost 500 innings, is the difference between 3 and 11. Obviously, that's a small sample size, but just something to keep an eye out for. League leader in errors, yeah, another guy with a lot of errors here, 50 defensive error rating. So anyways, good jump on to shortstop now that we're done third base. Shortstop is the fun one. Defensive wizards here. Puason and Leto leading the league in zone range. 11 already out of him, which is crazy. Perciado is also at double digits here at just about 10 there. And then, yeah, Wenzel Perez having an awesome season coming off a big injury last year. The dude has been magnificent. One of the big reasons the Twins are playing so well this year. On pace for 4.6 WAR. Huge offensive season out of shortstop, 103 WRC plus. Elite defense in the top 5 there in all the categories. So really cool to see there. You have this new Boston shortstop here. Really jumps off the page with only 1 error with that 80 error rating. Same with Luke Leto, 80 error rating, 1 error, so that stat's really consistent for sure. Amador here also has 80 error and only has 2 errors there. With a lot of guys at these top here, real good defenders. So anyone with the triple play? No. Anyone with the double play? 42, Perez. Nasty. So zone range wise, you get that. If you look across the board here, I'll sort by zone range and we'll kind of keep an eye on these guys. Everyone where you'd expect them to be. In the remote category, we'll skip over that. You go to the likely, you get everyone between about 58 and 71, which is pretty consistent. No numbers are screeching off the page here. 32 is quite a bit of opportunities there. Same with Wenzel Perez. If you jump over here to the even balls again, this is where I keep saying this is where I really like to kind of dive deep. Even balls, you have 58, 60, 60, 69%. So 69% really high out of Wenzel Perez. 18 out of 26, a very nice number there. And you go down here, another 62%. Dave Kotz, actually, really elite defender ratings there. He's having a really good season, too. His zone range isn't quite as high, and he has a little bit more errors than those other guys. But if he can kind of calm those errors down, he could probably jump in the running there for the Gold Glove race. But, right, there's just so many good guys at the top. It's going to be tricky. There's about 7 guys that really are incredible there at the top of those ratings. If you go over to unlikely balls here, you get 42, 42, we'll sort by zone range and look at the unlikely. You get 50, only 42 at a Leto, which is fine. Unlikely should be below 50. So you get 50 is pretty high there at a Puason, 42, 38, 42. So 24 is pretty low out of Gabe here. So yeah, if you look at that, Puason's really doing well there. The big one here I noticed here is 12 remote balls fielded out of Luke Leto is pretty nasty. Lead the league there. Mondesi actually has made it to 11, a little lower range there. Pretty athletic guy still, though. You get 10 out of Fontaine, Robert Fontaine there. Pretty nasty ratings out of him. Huge arm, huge range. Really interesting profile there. So if you look over here, Morante, I don't know what the reason is. 41 balls hit in the vicinity that are impossible balls for him. So at 6'4", 80 range, that's the perfect guy you want to have 41 opportunities. So I wish it showed that maybe how many he would have made out of those impossible balls. Probably 0, but interesting stat nonetheless. If you go over to, we'll just put all outfielders in one to kind of make this a little quicker. Instead of sorting all 3 spots. Let's actually start at center field, and then we'll maybe do the rest of the outfielders or something. Center field here, this is where you add in the arm, so you can see which guys, this arm rating is outfield arm save, so you can see which guys lead the league in outfield, center field runs saved. So you get 2.7 here out of Flores with the 80 arm, so that missile on his shoulder, even with the minus 4.8 zone range, saved a lot of runs with that arm. I still haven't figured out his arm is factored into zone range. I don't think it is, but it might be the arm actual stat. So that would mean he'd be like a -7 zone range if it wasn't for that arm. So I'm not too sure about that for sure. Rincon also with the rocket arm there, a 70 arm, saving quite a bit of runs. If you look at outfield assists here, you got a bunch of guys with 7 and 8. 0 errors and 3.7 zone range. Huge defensive season out of Lucio Baudet. Doesn't have quite the huge range rating that some of those other guys do at the top of this list, but he is having a really good season when you account for those 0 errors. Also with Emmanuel Rodriguez. Dru Jonessss, just a phenomenal defender. He's out for 5 weeks. I think he's so good that if he can recover and not get injured the rest of the year after this 5 weeks, I think he still has a pretty good shot at that Gold Glove, but it's going to be a little tough. Actually, now that I think about it, almost everyone here is in the AL. Pasha. Everyone is except for Bader. So the NL one is going to be interesting. He's got a 3 zone range lead right now on Bader, but Bader also has 4 errors in 527 innings, 0 for Dru Jonessss. So I think even with a 5-week injury, Dru Jonessss is just so much better than everybody defensively. In the NL, I think he's still going to have a real good shot at that award. 15 out of 17 even balls fielded for him. 88% is just outrageous. That is a real stat that just shows the difference between him and everyone else, which why he's probably the best defender in baseball. Just an absolute incredible ratio there. He also leads the league in the likely at a 15 out of 16 is just ridiculous. Routine, perfect score, 140, 140. And then you jump over here is the first time you see a little bit of difference. Big number difference. For some reason, he has very few remote balls in his section. Don't know why that is so low. He's only fielded 25% also, so very low numbers compared to everyone else. 30 out of Emmanuel Rodriguez compared to 8 out of Dru Jonessss. And almost, it is almost 200 less innings, I guess, actually. Or sorry, that's Pache. Manuel is 509 innings. So yeah, 130 less innings. That's interesting. But still, it's still even low, even for the amount of inning difference there. 30 to compare to 8 is significant there, over almost 4 times the amount. So a huge race in the AL for the Gold Glove there. Class A, and then you got Zabala, Rodriguez, Pache. Everybody over there is going to be real tough. And you got Petey Halpin here having a pretty nice season. Huge ratings out of him. So if you look at the arm ratings again, that's pretty interesting. If you got a lot of guys at the top here with big arms, Kevin Dunn's 75 arm. You only got 60 out of Halpin, saved 1.5 runs, which is interesting. And then you got Valdez here with a 65 arm. Unfortunately, he's out for the season. Okay, so now we'll go over, I guess we will just do the corner outfield separately. Let's just skip left field, honestly, just to see if there's any crazy stats here. But left fielders don't get much love from me. You got Ortiz there at the top. 2.7 runs saved out of Seifert there. Pretty nasty rating. All these guys could probably be right fielders. You got pretty high ratio here for some of these top guys. 6 out of 13. Evan White, real good defender. Playing a lot of left field this year, which is cool to see. He's played a lot of first base in the past. Unlikely. So nothing really crazy jumps off the page here. Pretty nasty Louis Ortiz kind of at the top of the ratings here for a lot of these stats. Zone range included, and only 1 error. So Evan White, Ortiz, a couple of those guys at the top. Mr. Drew will be in the running for this award most years if he sticks in left field in Montreal. And then we'll jump over to right field to finish it off. So right field, Dylan Cruz. This is one that really jumps off the page. 3.1 defensive run saved with his arm, 75 arm, huge defensive ratings. Guy's a monster out there in right field. Defensively, 70 rated. Isn't crazy with the bat this year, but it's been pretty solid. So really solid overall year out of him with the really nasty defensive stats. If you look here, you actually had a big injury here 5-6 weeks out of your top guy for zone range. 8 zone range, no one else above 3, which is pretty crazy. I really think that's going to give a shot for Cruz and a couple of those other guys at the top here to catch up. In 8 outfield assists, just so insane. And Aguilar and some of those guys to catch up when it comes to zone range. Ghazali is really just a center fielder playing right field, but pretty amazing defender there at either spot. I was talking earlier with somebody, kind of reminds me a lot of that Pittsburgh Pirates outfield in real life, how they had McCutcheon and Sterling Marte and all those guys in the outfield at the same time. They're all kind of rangy outfielders. Pretty cool. Same idea with Ghazali there. Kind of just a guy that's good enough to play center field on a lot of teams, and he's played right field there because they got another good center fielder there. So it's pretty interesting stats there. I'd like to see. The unlikely balls here sort by a couple of these middle categories. The even balls, you get 10 out of 17. Not anything too crazy here. Pretty good stats out of Guerra and Ghazali there. And then you got 70% for Mosca there. Big ratings there too. Mosca, that's really high for even balls, which is cool. If you go to unlikely, you get 7 balls fielded here. Ghazali and Mania. Bellinger's actually up there, which is cool to see. And then if you go to remote balls fielded, everyone's here about the same in the 30s. Nothing crazy. Ghazali really is at the top of the line here in almost every stat. So his arms actually hurting him a bit. -2 runs there with the 60 arms, a little weak for right field. A lot of those guys have 70 and 75 arms. Not that 60 is terrible, but just not quite the one thing he's not really elite at when he has that plus air and range. So anyways, that's kind of it, and then we'll go back to catchers here at the end. So let's sort it by that and have the same catcher defensive stats. So if you look at the catchers here, it's kind of a lot of the same ratings. I have sorry, that's what I did. Sorted it wrong. Defensive stats catcher. I was going to say that looked too similar. So catcher stuff, I have all the important catcher stuff, which is cool. If you sort it here, you can go by framing. The catcher ERAs. So remember, this is filtered by at least 50 innings played, so you shouldn't have any crazy stats. Most of these guys are kind of qualified. So a ridiculous CERA out of 76 innings in the majors here. Is that right? So that's pretty ridiculous CRA, that Milwaukee team. But first guy that kind of plays is probably Nunez, which is another Milwaukee guy. So Nunez essentially, I guess he could do qualified players. Batting qualifiers. Oh no, that just cuts it down too low actually. But yeah, essentially Nunez having a ridiculous season. 3.9 framing. If you sort by zone range here, he's right near the top also. Drew Romo, pretty crazy season. Amazing defensive player, up to 80 ability and 80 defense, just nasty. I don't remember him having 84. I thought he had 75. Could be wrong, but yeah, he's just an incredible player. If you look at pass balls here, you got Jared Jones with 10. Not a great defender, has a pretty big bat though, make up for it. The framing rate is really cool though. Kyle Teel, my guy, is second, having a really bad offense here. Most years he's right around the 90 WRC plus mark. This year he's at a 52, but he's still on pace for almost 2 WAR just because his framing and defense have been so good. Pretty crazy 0 pass balls out of Teel in 354 innings, which is pretty ridiculous. It really stands out to me over a lot of these stats. Runners thrown out is 5 out of 18 for him. Oh, I just realized how bad Gomez stats is for that. 50 arm isn't that bad, but holy smokes, he's getting smoked on the 9%. It's just so insanely low. Another brutal one is Susac. 1 out of 17 base runners getting thrown out with a 60 arm. That's so weird. I don't know. That must be a lot of his pitchers having low hold or something. That seems too low, but really interesting, even with the sample sizes not being crazy high. I don't really know much about this range factor stat. I just go by zone range. Range factor seems too similar for everybody to be much of a difference for anybody. So if you look at the top here by errors, you got 0 to Gomez, 0 of our Cartea. You got 0 out of Heim here. So catcher, really, it seems like Teel and Romo are definitely having pretty standout years compared to everybody else, and that's a couple of guys near the top here in framing. And then you also have the Atlanta guys really struggling throwing out base runners, but he has a plus 6.9 frame rating, which is pretty crazy with the guy that's only a 55 defensive catcher, 60 ability. So that stat's really interesting. Boychuk here also having a pretty nasty defensive season. He's still on pace for positive WAR, even with a 36 WRC plus. You got to be pretty nasty on defense to have a plus WAR season with that bad of offensive ratings. Gabe Marino here, couple interesting names. So, anyways, that's it for this video. I thought it would be fun to go over those things. I made it a little bit long, but anyone that's still here is probably pretty interested in defensive stats. So it's kind of fun if you want to. If you watch that whole video, I think to kind of recap it all, I think the most impressive stats would probably be Dru Jonessss in center field, and then the kind of typical guys that win a lot of Gold Gloves. Kind of balanced out a few other positions. Royce Lewis, really, I knew he was pretty good defensively, but he's really standing out second. And then you got a bunch of those, about 7 shortstops, all right in the running there, having really good seasons. And Dylan Cruz, I love that fact that his arm stands out so much in right field. So a couple kind of standout guys I kind of review at the end of the video. But hope you enjoyed, guys. Cheers.